How you doing, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Mash and Drum Whiskey Room. I am Jason C, and if you're a subscriber, thanks for coming back again. Always love seeing you. If it's your first time here, you're looking for the latest in bourbon and whiskey news and reviews, you have found the right place. So think about hitting that subscribe button below and hitting that bell notification so you know when I'm putting out a new video. So today I'm going to be reviewing Little Book 2. This is the second release from Fred No's son, Freddie No, over at Jim Beam. This is his second blend. This is the Chapter 2 bottle, also named No Simple Task. So let's get into it. So the first edition of Little Book, which was released in 2017, referred to as the Easy, Freddie worked on for over a year and tried more than 25 different blends of liquid before he decided that it was just right and worthy of his debut release. Personally, I love Little Book the Easy and thought it was a really unique release that I think makes seeing the word blend or blended on a whiskey label come across as more of a high-end whiskey rather than a cheap whiskey. Last year's edition was a blend of 4 straight whiskeys. It was a 4-year-old bourbon, a 6-year-old 100% malt whiskey, a 13-year-old corn whiskey, and a 6-year-old rye. Now, I love last year's release, which is right here. There were a lot of different people that didn't really kind of get it, didn't really hold a traditional flavor profile, which for me made it an exciting bourbon and delicious bottle to sip on that I think actually got better over time. So obviously, I could not wait for the second release of Little Book Chapter 2, named No Simple Task. So for this release, Freddie No went in another new direction. He spent a lot of time in the lab and tried almost 40 different recipes, which started when Freddie visited Beam's Canadian distilleries in early 2017. There he tasted some great Canadian whiskey straight out of the barrel and was drawn to the fruit and floral notes that they achieve. In the end, he found a 40-year-old Canadian corn whiskey and a 13-year-old rye to achieve exactly what he wanted to blend. With that, No Simple Task is a blend of 3 distinct liquids. This is an 8-year-old Kentucky straight rye whiskey, a 40-year-old Canadian corn whiskey, and a 13-year-old Canadian rye whiskey. These 3 whiskeys went together to his idea of blending a Kentucky rye, so it seemed a natural fit to him to use 2 Canadian choices in the mix. All right, guys, so here are the bottles for Little Book. I wanted to show you last year's as well. It's got a really beautiful bottle design, very similar to Booker's, but it's got this really nice gold monogram on the front. It's got these tags, which actually give a lot of information. It's very transparent as to what's in the whiskey, which I love. This is the second bottle I had. I finished the first one. It was really, really delicious. Just kind of holding on to this one. But today we're going to be focused on this one right here. So this is blended by Jim Beam, Little Book Chapter 2, named No Simple Task. This is a blend of 8-year-old rye, Kentucky rye, a 13-year-old Canadian rye, and a 40-year-old Canadian corn whiskey. This is bottled at cask strength, 59.4% or 118.8 proof. This is non-chill filtered, natural color with an MSRP of $100. Let's get into it. These are usually pretty tight in there, and ooh, that was a nice loud pop. All right, let's get a pour. All right, here we go. All right, guys, so while this is opening up a little bit, I wanted to just mention I did have a pour of this maybe a couple months ago at a bar, but I was drinking some other things that night, and I really couldn't get a handle on it. It was one of the last things I had a pour of, and I don't know, the flavor profile just couldn't get a grip on it. It could have been affected by the other stuff I was drinking. So I was able to get a bottle, and I wanted to give it its due since I enjoyed Little Book 1 so much, and definitely want to do a full review on this. So Little Book also comes in one of these, a nice box just like Booker's, except it's dark, it's a black type of finish they put on it. Really cool looking box, definitely stands out. All right, guys, so let's get into the color here real quick. We have a light amber, honey color, really nice legs sticking to the glass. That 40-year-old corn whiskey's in there. Really, really coating the glass really nicely. Nice light amber honey color. It's a pretty whiskey. All right. All right, I've been curious about this bottle for a while, so let's get into the notes here. Here we go. Wow, that corn whiskey is really punching through immediately. But you are getting a lot of vanilla and butterscotch there on the nose as well. Really nice on the nose. Trying to open it up here a little bit more. There is a faint... Yeah, there it is. There's a faint apple note on there, too, that I'm getting. That's really, really nice. You're going to get that nice caramel and apple flavor together. Makes for a nice nose. As it opens up here, though, you're getting some... There's definitely a floral quality to it. You know, there's kind of these herbs and floral notes that you typically will get with a rye whiskey. But I'm not getting those typical... maybe spearmint or like liquor, like black licorice notes that I would normally get on a rye. It's very sweet, very inviting. There's definitely some citrus there too that I'm picking up now. A little bit of orange, lemon. The nose it's really complex. It's kind of all over the place. But mostly it's corn, vanilla, butterscotch. You definitely got some herbal notes in there, some floral notes. And a little bit of citrus there on the end. Not a big punch of rye, but we'll see what we get on the palate here. All right, guys, let's see if the nose matches the palate on the first sip. Here we go. Cheers. That is a lot of cinnamon on the first sip. That's like a pure cinnamon stick. Wow. Then here comes the finish, working its way down. Definitely feel that 118.8 proof, uncut, unfiltered. Really coating the palate nicely, sticking. Wow, good first sip. Really like that one. All right, let's go on the second sip and see what flavors we can start pulling out here. Cheers. Okay, now now the flavors are really starting to develop here. Still getting a lot of that cinnamon note that I got in the first sip, but now you're getting that butterscotch note, the honey. There's a big punch of honey flavor, kind of overlaying the whole experience. Honey and cinnamon. Pretty nice combination. It's pretty good. There's almost like a raisin raisinette type category to it. Maybe a little chocolate raisin character to it. Really good on the second sip. All right, let's see what we get on the third sip, guys. Cheers. All right, so now some of the rye notes, the rye characteristics are starting to show themselves now. You're getting a little bit more of an herbal and floral flavor type to it. It's a little bit minty too on the finish now, almost refreshing, especially on the back of the palate. It's starting off with that cinnamon butterscotch note. As it works its way back, you're getting that caramel, a little bit of that apple flavor, maybe a little bit. Definitely more of that raisin and cocoa powder. But yeah, the finish on it's really giving you a really nice, refreshing type of spearminty rye finish. It's really nice on the finish. I'm really enjoying that. As far as oak, there is a mix of oak in there too. It's more of a barrel char though. I think it's not so much a sweet oak finish. You're tasting that really ultra aged whiskeys in there and those ryes, and you're really tasting that barrel char in there. It's really, really nice. Has a great balance to it so far. Let's go in for another sip here. Cheers. Yeah, so now as everything is now kind of evening out here, it's staying sweet. You could definitely pick up the different notes of sweetness here. You can definitely get the cinnamon, the honey. There's some butterscotch in there to be found. A little bit of that apple note. Definitely a lot of corn in there from that 40-year-old corn whiskey. That's really making itself known, but I'm getting it a lot more from the mid palate to the finish. Up front, you're really getting hit with the nice vanilla butterscotch note. But then as it works its way back, that corn, butterscotch, and apple note is really coming to the forefront. Then right at the end, you get this spearmint, like fresh flavor that just really kind of sticks with you. It's really nice. All right, guys, let's go in for one last sip here. Here we go. Cheers. All right, so as far as the finish goes, it's medium to long. It's spicy, definitely on the very, very end. But as it takes you through the entire experience, what you get up front, I think, you get a lot of that vanilla, butterscotch, definitely a ton of that 40-year-old corn whiskey in there. It's really making itself to be known. But then as it works its way back, it definitely gets a little bit more floral, more fruity. And then but on the finish, it's where you get this really nice spearminty, fresh type of finish on the back of the palate. And the flavors kind of linger there. They sit. It definitely makes you want to drink more. It's really very unique. It's not like any rye I've had before, especially with the type of blend it is. It's really good. For me, I'm really enjoying this. I think it's a great bottle, and for me, it's another winner from Freddie No. So wow, I'm really still feeling that spearminty flavor on the back end there. It's pretty good. I definitely enjoy this. I mean, overall, I think this is a very unique whiskey. It's more approachable than I would have thought, especially with a 40-year-old Canadian corn whiskey being mixed in there. Really love what Freddie No is doing, creating another unique one. And I do think a lot of bourbon and rye enthusiasts maybe won't like or appreciate this flavor profile because it is very different. But I think for those that do give this a taste and end up liking it, they're in for a really good surprise of how approachable and unique this blend is. I can't wait to see how this bottle is going to change as I keep enjoying it. But because it's so unique and because it's definitely a departure from, maybe something that most bourbon and whiskey enthusiasts are used to, I definitely would say try this before you buy it. But if you end up liking it, I think you're in for a really good surprise. All right, guys. Well, thanks again for watching the Master and Drum Whiskey Room. Hope you enjoyed this review for Little Book 2, No Simple Task. Really enjoyed this one. If you haven't yet, please hit the subscribe button below. Please hit that like button. If you haven't yet, please find me on Instagram and also find me on Twitter. As I always say, it is not about the whiskey, it is the people you share it with. So cheers, everyone, and I'll see you next time.